Foreshortening is a really extreme version of perspective. And foreshortening does tend to be really, really tough for a lot of people. Foreshortening is a type of extreme perspective most frequently done with people. You'll see it a lot with people. You can see it with everything. When limbs appear compressed because of the added perspective. When I say compressed, it looks like they've been kind of squashed. So foreshortening is considered one of, if not the most difficult thing to draw in terms of anatomy. So there's a lot of things that you need to think about when we do foreshortening. Number one is proportion. When you're drawing your stuff foreshortened, you have to remember to keep all of your limbs proportionate. You can't just draw the arm the exact same way. If the arm is coming towards you, the arm will no longer be the exact same length that you would normally draw it. One of the tricks that I love to teach my students is when you draw an arm, if you have a shoulder, you have a wrist, right? If you draw dots in the center of them, connect them, perpendicular connect them. Where that line is your elbow, and you have your hand, and that's like a perfectly proportionate arm. This trick no longer works if you're working in foreshortening. So what ends up having to happen is you have to learn how to draw the arm when it's coming forwards, right? So if you have the elbow like this, it's bent, and then the arm is facing towards you like this, right? Learning to draw that arm foreshortened, this section here is foreshortened. You need to think about anatomical accuracy. As people, we have anatomy. We got different parts of the body. We got different geometry. We got different forms. When we think of those forms, we need to make sure that we are keeping them in mind when we draw our foreshortening. And the perspective accuracy. You need to think of your geometry. When you draw a bunch of cubes and cylinders in perspective, it's gonna operate the exact same way in foreshortening. It's just gonna be a little bit more extreme. So this one right here, do not force limb visibility. I see that a lot with artists who are just starting out. As artists, we are so used to, you know, our arms having a certain anatomy attached to it. We're very used to them being a certain length. We're very used to them being a certain size. We're very used to them being in a certain viewpoint. But when we work with foreshortening, we can no longer think in that way. We have to remind ourselves that these parts of the body are being crunched. They're being shortened. So what ends up happening is that our brains and our hands don't really connect, and they're like, but this arm looks wrong because it's not the correct length. So what ends up happening a lot that I see is, like, say if you have somebody like sitting on the ground and their legs are supposed to be like facing directly forwards towards you, you'll see them kind of like go like this, and then like the foot will be angled up like this. This makes the person look like they're sitting downwards, right? You need to remind yourself that the length of the legs should no longer be visible. If the person is sitting and their legs are facing directly towards you, you're not going to be able to see that. Like, the top of the thigh might be visible, you might see a bit of the knee, but like most of the leg is going to be covered up. I'm going to go over a couple of different techniques that I tend to use. The number one thing that you've probably seen before is the coil or ring method. Think of the body as if it's wrapped in springs or rings. Imagine your arm, like, you know, if you put a slinky on it and you have a bunch of coils around it, kind of that deal. Imagine those curves that go around the form. Coils are the way that a lot of artists do it. Rings are a little bit cleaner. This allows for you to keep the curve and the 3D-ness of the form. Coil outwards from the initial starting point, or draw gradual rings that get larger. So let's say that we started from this one section, the base of the arm, which is right there. If we want to do the first limb, we can coil it out, and it slowly gets larger. Notice what this does, creating a cylinder in perspective. And then if we had the next part of the arm, we'd start from there, change the angle a bit, and just get larger once again. We need to make sure that we are consistently growing a bit larger. The ring method is exactly the same. It's literally just using rings instead of coils. The coil helps you keep your consistency of your shape. Rings just help it keep it a little bit neater and easier to follow with the eyes. That's literally it. There's like no difference between the two though. It's the exact same method. So the pros of this method is that it really helps keep form consistency, and it helps with accurate and smooth perspective. Especially with these coils, what you're doing is you're creating a really nice looking tube, a really nice looking cylinder. And what that does is it really helps get your brain in that foreshortening mindset. The cons is that you're not done when you do the coils. You start with the coils, they're there, they're beautiful, fantastic. You're not done when you do the coils. You have to put the anatomy back on. The coils, you're just creating a cylinder and it's working. But this method only does the perspective. Now you have to add in the rest of the muscles and the rest of the anatomy of whatever limb you're drawing. The coils can't do that for you. You need to know what that is. But coils are a nice and simple method. Next one is a geometry method. So the geometry method is more for people who think in a more mathematical sense. Some people think better when they think of basic blocks and building blocks. Working straight from basic geometry which is prisms or cylinders, right? Prisms I recommend more, squares and rectangles. Those tend to work a little bit better because you give yourself more anchors. Every time that you give yourself a corner, think of like anything that you draw in perspective. So instead of thinking in cylinders and coils, you're thinking more in, you're putting a box in perspective. It's simple visualization and easy to relate back to a simple perspective. So in this case, if I was to draw the full body, this person's looking up. We're gonna start with the neck. I draw a cylinder first. Then, based on where that cylinder is, I will draw a prism for the first part of the body. Notice that everything is going downwards. And then if I continued, I had a sphere here, and what I could do is I could also attach on a prism for the arm, right? Again, following the shape that the body is doing right now. Right, you notice all of the different shapes and stuff. The center of the body is still here. If I was to add the anatomy back on. The pros of the geometry method is that it is the most accurate in terms of general anatomy and form. You will not get more accurate than these building blocks, right? If you think of them as Lego Duplos, it's very easy to get this proportionally correct because you're thinking in boxes. It's easy to get this one incorrect. It helps you with form consistency. It helps you keep that consistency. It helps you keep that curve and the roundness, but it has the ability to mess up. You can definitely do the coils wrong, but in this case, you just have a really clean looking, nice box, and that tends to be a bit easier to visualize. So the cons of this method are that it is stiff, it is rigid, and there's no gesture. When you are working with these rectangular forms, you need to kind of have the gesture in the back of your brain. Generally, the evolution of your working method tends to start with the gesture, and then it's the form on top of it. And you must have a good handle on perspective. If your brain doesn't work well with perspective yet, this method will not work for you. So you must have a good handle on your perspective before you work with it. So because we were doing foreshortening, I set up a few different poses for us to illustrate. This is going to be foreshortened, so it's just going to be a full body. The order of things that are on the pole is like what I want to do the most. Someone tripping and falling, that's a really fun one. So usually I start with the head. A lot of the times, because the head is usually what'll help you keep it in proportion because the body is measured in heads. But sometimes, like if I'm working with gesture, like if I'm gesture drawing, I work from the body first because I do have my proportions memorized. So I can work without this method, but usually if I am just drawing any old character, I start with the head just because the head's like the most fun part for me to draw. So remember that when I am drawing, see, I have the problem with forcing things to be in view when I'm doing full body foreshortening because I really want the torso bits to show, but they really won't be. This is a very, very exaggerated form of foreshortening. This you will not see as often, but I always find that exaggerated foreshortening is a lot easier than like just normal foreshortening. The best way to accentuate any kind of foreshortening is with clothing. You need something to look rounder, draw a sleeve on, give them bracelets.
If you'd like to support the channel and the creation of free arts education, become a member on Patreon.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm establishing a background. If I'm not going to put another person, it's a bit empty, so I figured I should probably just do some kind of background. Okay, now I can work on the lining portion. Let's go. Again, I'm really only planning on doing the lines for this one, so I'm trying to make them a little bit more fun, a little bit more stylized, because I don't have to worry about color seeping through any of them at any point, because there's a lot of big gaps between my lines right now, so I'm not really worried about the gaps, because it's not like anything's gonna go inside of it, regardless. I'm also not worrying about cleaning my lines up too much, because I want to give them a bit of extra fun pizzazz, in terms of just them moving and whatnot. I've been doing a lot of traditional lining, so I'm kind of taking my techniques from that back into my digital. That's why it's good to do both traditional and digital, I find. It helps you with your versatility. When you work digitally, it'll teach you how to work traditionally. When you work traditionally, it'll teach you how to work digitally. It works both ways, so it's usually nice to work with both, because then you can have interchangeable techniques. When I foreshorten, when the portion of the body comes closer, I thicken up the line work. This is just to help enhance the foreshortening. Usually if you change your line weighting up, when the thing gets closer, it helps enhance the perspective a little bit more. Especially with foreshortening, because foreshortening you really need a lot of help with really pushing that. So like when the stuff gets farther away, it's easier to work with much thinner line work. It makes it look a lot better if you work with thinner line work, because when you do that, it creates this nice, really like as if it's fading into the background look. You know what, I'm actually going to change the angle of this book because that makes it more interesting. A tiled floor or just having a grid will change everything. It really will. It makes everything just look like 20 times nicer. It really assists with perspective, it really helps push your scene.
If you liked what you saw, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an upload. Join our art community with the links down below if you'd like to support the channel in the creation of free arts education. Become a member on Patreon for working files, behind-the-scenes posts, and discounts on our class offerings. If you enjoyed this video, here's a couple other videos you can check out next.